them as well.
It's a huge live audience.
Yeah.
2 people.
Hello, Claire from East London.
Hi, Claire.
It's lovely. Yeah. Just wait for a few more people to join us, and then we shall begin. Yeah.
Sonia, Paula.
Hello, Paula from Portugal. Sonia from Cape Town. Lovely. All right, so let's start this evening by the meditation, and meditation just to be seen as a way of bringing ourselves back into reality. That's really what meditation is. While the mind pulls us away from presence, here and now, the meditation is just designed to clear our mind and to allow us to be fully present in the here and now. It's the only time we can be fully alive is when we are present. So meditation is a way of aligning us with life. And life itself has a certain intelligence. And this intelligence is always there to guide us and to help us. So the more present we are, the more we're given the guidance that we need in life. And it takes a bit of practice sometimes because we've been so programmed to live in the mind, to live in our stories of past and our stories of future. So it's good to spend a few moments together on a Sunday evening in meditation.
Can we just check that the fan is not making any noise for people?
Yeah.
Can anyone just comment and let us know if you can hear the fan noise?
Are we clear? Can you see us?
Clear? Yeah, can you see us and hear us?
And hear us, yeah. There is a fan going. I just want to know if it's interfering with the microphone. Just let us know if you can hear us loud and clear. Let us know.
You can just put on the comments.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll always switch that one off. Right. All right. Let's settle back. Hello, Maria from Victoria. Or what's that? Priya.
All clear. Okay.
All clear. Good.
Maybe it's lagging a bit on your side with the connection.
Yeah, our connection's quite fast tonight, so we don't have any problems on our side. We've got clear weather. Thank you, Vanessa. That's good. All the way in the UK. So if you can hear us over there, then maybe people closer to us can hear us as well. Good. Excellent. So settle back. See that you're comfortable, that you're supported maybe by some cushions, that you're lying on the floor or bed or couch. Just see that you're very comfortable. Just take a moment. You might like to close your eyelids. You don't have to. If you have a candle, you can always look at the flame, the flickering flame. That's another very good way to meditate. We're going to close our eyes and just check in with your physical body in this moment. The physical body is a powerful portal into presence. While the mind has the ability to travel in time, to go into yesterdays and tomorrows, the physical body is always aligned with life. And as I said earlier, life is always in the present moment. So your body is always in reality, just the mind that disappears. So let's just use the body to bring our awareness out from all of the times and all of the places and become supremely focused in the physical body here and now. You might like to connect in with your feet. You might like to connect in with your toes. You might like to wiggle your toes. Just check that they're all there. I know they were there earlier when you got dressed maybe and you looked at your toes. Maybe you've lost one or two during the day. Just check in, not having to see them, but just feel them from the inside. Feel each toe in turn. And while the toes seem insignificant, each one represents a powerful vortex in the body of energy. Not only does it help us walk and balance, but it also has energetic effects in the body. So you might like to say a quiet thank you to each one of your toes as you check in with them. Become aware of the arch of the foot, the heel. You might like to connect in with Mother Gaia beneath our feet. You might like to just say a quiet thank you to Mother Gaia for all the support that she's given you during the day. And in this moment, She is the provider of all of the needs, the physical needs that we have come from Mother Gaia. Even the air we breathe is a result of Mother Gaia providing the earth for the trees and the plants. And so we bring our awareness from the feet up to the ankles. What an incredible joint the ankle is. To be flexible in so many directions and yet support the whole weight of our body. We bring our awareness of our calf muscles, our shins into the knees. We say thank you to the knees for the flexibility that they give us. We bring up our awareness now and our attention to our thighs and to the hips. There's so much joy in those hips. Connect in with the hips for a moment. Say thank you to the flexibility, the ability to walk that they give us. They also support the torso and all the organs in the torso. So let's go up the spine, vertebra by vertebra, slowly, just giving thanks to all the organs in the body, all the work that they do, to give us this incredibly miraculous vehicle called the human body, which gives us this human experience. And we get to the shoulders now, the shoulder blades, and you might like to shrug your shoulders a little bit and release any tensions from the day. Let the tension slide away. Moving our awareness now down the arms to the elbows, to the wrists, and then into the hands. And let's do the same exercise with our fingers that we did with the toes. Just check in with each one of the digits, including the thumb. Just thanking them for the dexterity that they've given us today. The ability to hold a cup, to bathe ourselves, to hug, to lift food to our mouths. We say thank you to the hands and to the fingers. And now gently we bring our awareness back up the arms into the neck, becoming aware of any tension or tightness in the neck. You might like to lengthen the back of the head, stretching the neck upwards, as if there's a string pulling the back of your head right up to the sky, lengthening your spine, and taking a deep breath into the body. And as we breathe out, let's drop our attention down the front of the face, relaxing the forehead, the cheeks, and the jaw. Relaxing the little muscles around the eyes. See that the tongue is resting behind the front teeth, maybe just touching the roof of the mouth, the top palate. And take another deep breath in. And as you breathe out, just surrender to this moment, the here and now. Any aches or pains or uncomfortableness in the body, we just surrender. We acknowledge the impulse coming from the body. We don't try and change anything. We just say thank you. You're noted. Take a third very deep breath in. This time take it right down to your solar plexus. And let it go. And as you let it go, sink down deeper into the chair or seat or bed or floor, whatever you're sitting or lying on. And just feel the support from the bed or floor or chair or couch. If you have a backrest, lean further back against the backrest, just thanking it for its support. And now let's bring our awareness to the center of our chests, to the heart. The heart is such an important organ in the body. The physical heart is responsible for distributing the blood around the body, pumping it, taking the oxygen from the lungs and distributing it through all the veins and arteries, through the body to the capillaries and back again. The heart is also a powerful field of energy orchestrating so many functions in the body. We know that the neurological impulses from the brain travel too slowly through the body to orchestrate many of the functions in the body. It has to come from a field of energy, and that field of energy is centered not so much in the brain but in the heart. So let's just rest our awareness in the heart for a moment. And while the heart, we have a physical idea of the heart, there is a deeper heart, a spiritual heart, an etheric heart, which is our link to the dimensions beyond the physical. So we rest for a moment in the quiet space of this etheric heart. We become very quiet and we listen. We listen to the stillness within our hearts. While the physical heart beats, there's a quiet stillness underneath the beat. And this quiet stillness is the bridge into the non-physical heart. And as we withdraw our attention from the outside world and we bring it into this quiet place within our hearts, we open ourselves up for intuitive awareness, for guidance. We also open ourselves up to divine healing through this quiet space of the heart. We take another very deep breath in and a long breath out. And before opening your eyes, just for a moment, just feel what the body feels like in this moment. A bit more peaceful. The heart is probably beating a little bit more coherently, in balance. The endocrine system has probably become more balanced as well. This is a beautiful state to live your life. And all it requires is a few deep breaths and a focus inward rather than outward. Okay, so take another deep breath in. And surrendering the breath, we gently open our eyes. Thank you all. Just let us know in the comments box how you're feeling after the meditation. Hopefully a bit more peaceful. Thank you all for typing up in the comments box and letting us know where you're watching from. If you haven't let us know yet where you are from, we have Lisa from Italy, and Jackie from Four Ways.
Yeah.
Great, super.
Yeah.
Right. So what's happening in the heavens?
Meditation and astrology. Well, we're in, for anybody that's interested in astrology, we're in the eclipse window. Do you know the eclipse window?
It's probably like this window here, and we can see the stars up through it. Yeah.
So it's two eclipses. So we had a full moon, a lunar eclipse a week ago, and now on the 21st we have a solar eclipse, which is a new moon. That's going to be the second new moon in the sign of Virgo, and it's actually very aligned with the theme of letting go, because a full moon is always a sort of a culmination, and then as a full moon moves towards a new moon, there's a letting go process. So you're clearing, and forgiving is letting go, actually. So the signs that are involved are also very in keeping with the theme of forgiveness. And so it's just for the next, until the 21st, this is I believe what we need to be doing is clearing, detoxing, stepping away from some of the noise, connecting with nature, really looking towards recalibrating, because on the 21st, which is the full moon, the new moon, we have our retreat that weekend, which is this coming weekend. It's a real reset. It's like a sacred reset. So this is a time, this week, it's a time to look at our health, to look at what we're eating, if we're exercising properly, if we're drinking enough water, clean our cupboards out, and do the cleansing process so that we're actually ready for the reset. And then the very next day is the equinox. So it's the spring equinox in the southern hemisphere and the autumn equinox in the northern hemisphere, which is a point of equilibrium. And so that's also very much reset. So it's quite powerful astrology coming up.
Yeah. So as Michelle mentioned just now, forgiveness really means to drop it, to surrender it, to let it go. So it's a very powerful time right now to do this letting go.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really is.
And if we, as I mentioned in the beginning, but some of you weren't there yet, we just looked at, if you look at the events happening in America, and obviously there's a lot of disturbance in people's emotions related to that event. And now is a very good time to practice forgiveness. But what are we practicing? What is forgiveness? What are we doing when we forgive? And who is doing the forgiveness? That's an important point. So that's what we're going to be looking at tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what is forgiveness?
Yeah.
I see forgiveness as letting go of the story.
Letting go, dropping the story.
So you're not necessarily, so you realize that something happened, whatever that was, but you're choosing, it's a conscious choice to let go of the story or the identification that you might have towards that story. That's, for me, that's what forgiveness is.
Yeah, that's the important part, is that we have an identity of self related to a story about ourselves. And for many people, their whole identity is wrapped up in their story of what they have done and what others have done to them, what they've achieved and what they haven't achieved, etc., etc. The roles that they play, they all come into an identity of personality, of a personal self. And when it comes to forgiveness, forgiveness cannot be done by the personality. That's a pseudo personality, pseudo forgiveness. The ego cannot forgive because the ego is very much enabled by non-forgiveness. It gets its identity from resistance. The mind gets its identity of a sense of self from resisting the world around it. So we cannot really ask the ego or the mind or the personality to forgive. Forgive is, as Michelle mentioned, to drop the story. And the mind is very much embedded in story because that's what the mind does. It's a fantastic mechanism for creating memories and for projecting into future times when things maybe will be sorted out or maybe salvation will happen in the future. And so we live in a matrix of the mind generally based on identity in past and hope in the future. And so non-forgiveness is very much part of that sense of self. So an important aspect of forgiveness is, first of all, to step back out of the story of self, and come into that narrow portal of being, which is the sort of, you can imagine a sign of infinity. You have that narrow space in the middle. And that narrow space is neither past nor future. It aligns with what we call the vertical plane. And it's only from the vertical plane that we can truly forgive. And in the vertical plane, your sense of self based in time dissipates. It doesn't have such a strong hold on you anymore. And as we align with the vertical plane, that's where we find truth. And we can only forgive from a place of truth.
And you can only forgive right now. You can't forgive tomorrow. You can only forgive in this moment. You can choose to drop it in this moment. And I think it's when you really consider what unforgiveness is and what it's actually doing to the human and to us. So if we see ourselves as energy, which we are, having experience in a human form. So the formless, we are formless, having experience as form. And when we have an unforgiveness, or we're carrying around something that isn't serving us, we are literally blocking our channel. So if we are all on this path, if you're watching this call, then you definitely are on a path to lightness, to freedom, to connection, then the blocking of the connection is the carrying of that old story, and it's lugging it around. So it's very much like carrying a hot coal. So if I put a coal in your hand, you have to ask yourself how long you would hold it for before you dropped it. You probably wouldn't hold it for very long because it would burn your hand. But we don't realize that that's what forgiveness is doing. So we're holding a coal expecting someone else to be burnt. We're getting burnt. And on the energy level, you literally are creating a block, an energy block, which is preventing light from moving through your energy centers and actually liberating you and healing you. So for me, forgiveness is actually a healing modality. It's coming back to wholeness, which is what healing does. Healing is. It's coming out of separation, because forgiveness is the illusion of separation. It comes from the illusion of separation. So when you come out of separation, you come back to wholeness, you come back to healing, and you clear the energy pathways. So we've just got to ask ourselves what the point is of not forgiving. Because I've seen so many people and spoken to so many people who have said, no, I will never forgive that. And I don't think anybody realizes what they're saying when they're saying that. They're basically saying that I'm imprisoning myself. I'm choosing to imprison myself in this story. That's not to say that the event wasn't difficult. It's not condoning what happened, whatever it was. But it's choosing whether you want to stay stuck in that or whether you choose to liberate yourself from it.
Yeah, I see. The way we've been programmed to look at forgiveness generally from an egoic point of view, from a personality point of view, from a mind point of view, is something you do, because that's all the mind knows, it's doing. And the personality, likewise, it's a doing machine, the personality. And so forgiveness is something we do to the other, right? That's generally the way we've been programmed to see forgiveness. And that isn't forgiveness at all. When we do forgiveness in that way, what we're doing is it's one-upmanship. In the ego, again, we are aggrandizing ourselves. We're putting ourselves above the other person. I'm bigger than you, and I will forgive you. And again, we're just creating a hardened sense of self around ourselves. And if freedom is really what we want, and we spoke about it last time, about removing the walls that separate us from life. What was it called? It was dissolving the walls, right? And so that type of forgiveness is merely consolidating our sense of self. I have forgiven. Look at me. Look how good I am. And we might not say that verbally, but in our mind we're thinking, well, I'm better than the other because I've forgiven. That's not forgiveness at all. True forgiveness is to drop it. As Michelle said, you've given a burning hot coal in your hand. How long do you hold on to that burning coal? You don't. Why? Why do you drop it so quickly? Because the pain of holding on is more than the pain of releasing it. So just think of it this way. We're holding on to grievances. Why are we holding on to grievances? Because that gives us a denseness in our body, in our personality. It gives us a sense of form. And if I gave up that form, well, I'd be less solid, less real. Yes, you would be. And you'd be lighter. You wouldn't be so held by gravity. So the part of you that needs solidity is the mind. It's the personality. It's the ego. It's based on thoughts and emotions. And yet the real essence of us, maybe you might like to think of it as a soul, it celebrates lightness, and forgiveness gives us that lightness. So when we look at forgiveness from a spiritual point of view, we see that forgiveness is not something we do to the other. Forgiveness is something that happens automatically as we align ourselves with what we call the vertical plane. Forgiveness is not something that gets done at all. It becomes irrelevant as you align yourself with presence. You find forgiveness is an automatic process of releasing as you become aligned with life in the present moment, as against the story of life, based in your mind, based in past. That has a certain gravity about it. But when you step into presence, into the vertical plane, into alignment with life, there is nothing in that moment, generally, that you have to forgive, because there's nothing there. It's just this moment. And this moment is easy to forgive. It's just here. Life is here. There is nothing to forgive in this moment. Just you become an open channel for life to flow through you, because non-forgiveness, as Michelle mentioned earlier, it becomes a blockage to health, to healing, to the flow of life through us.
And it creates suffering for us.
It creates...
Whoever the person is that's unforgiving is in suffering. You have to be, because you're separate and you're in resentment and unforgiveness. And that's not a nice place to be. So it's actually one of the kindest things you could do to forgive for yourself, never mind anybody else. And the other thing, though, is one of the analogies that I've used for forgiveness is it's as if there's a hook when you're actually connected with someone in a way in which there is no forgiveness, or you find it difficult to forgive. If you can imagine that there's a hook coming from you and it's sticking into them and there's a rope between you. And so their energy is connected and your energy is connected and you're tugging at each other. And it's hurting both. One of you can pull that hook out and then you liberate both of you in that moment. There is a liberation that happens in that moment. And I know that with absolute certainty because it's happened to me personally. So you can lug something around for your whole life, and then when the suffering gets too much, you can choose to unhook yourself from that situation or that story about how it should have been, how that person should have been, how it should be, whatever it was. When you unhook and you just choose to distance yourself from that story, you liberate yourself.
That's a nice analogy, that, but I'm going to add something to it. So we have the hook inside you and the hook in the other person. And I'm going to suggest it's maybe not a rope, it's maybe a tube.
Yeah,
like
tubes that you
a fiber optic tube that connects you.
Things.
And there's information being transmitted
Yeah.
moment to moment through that tube. You are tied to the other person or the event. Even if that the other person, for example, might have passed away. There's still a tube connecting you energetically to that vibration, to that frequency, and that is what creates karma. So we're drawing a dance towards ourselves with that other energy because we haven't released it. There's still that open portal of energy flowing between us, and that energy is not necessarily a comfortable energy. It's an energy out of balance. And what forgiveness does, it brings the energy back into what's called the 0-point field. So energy normally has a wave pattern of positives and negatives. The 0-point field is something we enter into with presence, and it dissolves karma. It dissolves those old patterns that have kept us stuck in maybe soul groups of dysfunctional energies of resentment and guilt and grief and anger for countless incarnations. And so forgiveness is a way of entering a field of what's the word I'm looking for? Of neutrality, where old patterns are dissolved, old karmic patterns are now released. And we're going through a time of huge transformation in the human species at the moment. This is not a small shift that we're making, it's a massive shift. And forgiveness is the key to wiping the slate clean. But then the question which I was raised, and I wrote another newsletter last week on it, is what happens if the person has done something really bad and they haven't been punished for it yet? How do we forgive someone if justice hasn't been carried out yet in that particular case? Surely if we forgive someone and justice hasn't happened, we're just letting them off the hook and they get away with it. What do you say about that?
You're letting them off the hook.
You are letting them off the hook of karma with you. But it doesn't negate for them. You might be relieving yourself of your karma with them, which you got set up maybe in past experiences that you can't even remember today. But it doesn't necessarily let them off the hook of their own karma. If they don't shift, if they don't forgive themselves and the world around them, they will perpetuate that cycle of imbalance in their energy field. And as the good book says, as you sow, so shall you reap. The point here, though, is that the energy field that's doing the sowing is the energy field that reaps. So let's make it personal. If you have done something that you can't forgive yourself for, if you're carrying a lot of regret inside you, here's a key to dropping all of that. The personality, the form of energy that did something that was unforgivable back then, doesn't have to be the energy field that you are today. You can step into alignment with presence, and you actually clear those imbalances of the past automatically in this moment. You step into that 0 point field. The karma that entity in the past, the unconsciousness in you that created those hardships for the world around you, for maybe people around you, gets dissolved in the light of presence. So you are then liberated, you're then freed from that law of karma going back in time. Because if you just look at what creates actions that result in suffering for yourself and for others around you, it's not the consciousness, it's not pure awareness within us that does that. It's unconsciousness. They say that we're always doing the best we can in any moment. Everyone is always doing the best they can in any moment with what they know to be true, with the tools that they have. But generally, the human experience is that an awful lot of people are acting out of unconscious fields of reaction. So something happens to them, they react against that. And those reactive patterns within us create a lot of suffering in the world. So it's not the consciousness that creates pain and suffering, it's the unconsciousness that we carry in ourselves. And forgiveness is a way of releasing ourselves from those unconscious patterns that perpetuated pain and suffering in the past. And as we release ourselves, it's also an invitation for those around us to relieve themselves of that hook that's sitting inside them. Our job isn't to take the hook out of anyone else. That's not our job at all. Our job is not to heal anyone around us. But our job is to definitely bring the internal world of energy within us back into alignment with life, back into alignment with balance. And that is love. Love is the alignment of life. Ourself with life. Our heart with life. In this moment, just in this moment here, through the portal of acceptance, allowing, and appreciation. That brings us into alignment. And the other question, I'm sure you had something to add to that, but I just wanted to add, how do we know when we've truly forgiven? Not because we've said the words or thought the thoughts. That isn't forgiveness. Forgiveness comes when you feel nothing but gratitude for everything that you've ever experienced, for the depth of experience it's given you. That's gratitude. Gratitude for life is forgiveness. Not holding on to any resentments, any guilt. You know, we know in the table of consciousness that David Hawkins gave us, that map of consciousness, that the lowest energy in that thing is shame. And just 30 points above that is guilt. Guilt is such a debilitating energy. By feeling guilty for something you did when you were less conscious in the past doesn't help you heal. It doesn't help the world heal.
And I think the thing to know as well is a lot of people say, but I don't know how to forgive. And I would just say that the way you forgive is right now in this moment. You don't. There's nothing to do. It's actually an undoing. It's actually just in this moment, whether you're forgiving yourself or whether you're forgiving someone else. If you have a thought of something that you did that you battled to forgive yourself for, because you behaved in a way that you wouldn't behave in now. At that moment that you think about that, or think about hurting somebody, or betraying somebody, whatever you did, we all do everything. So nobody's clear of this. Is that at that moment that comes into your awareness, right at that moment, you go, I'm letting this go with love.
You drop it.
You drop it in the moment, as if you're dropping that hot coal.
Drop
That's
that
it.
thought.
And then it might come back 5 minutes later or a day later, and you drop it again. And you replace that with love. So you can actually speak to yourself. You can have a dialogue. If it's you're forgiving yourself, you can say, "This is not serving. I'm actually forgiving myself in this moment. I'm going to drop this because I love myself enough to drop this." And just that actually starts to clear it. It starts to clear that channel. I think just the one thing that I wanted to add is that there can often be a secondary gain with not forgiving. And a secondary gain is something which is gained for not forgiving. So in other words, somebody betrayed me and I will never forgive them. I can't forgive them. There's an identity attached to having been the betrayed one. So in other words, it's like saying, I am the one that was betrayed, or I am the one that was hurt, or worse, or violated. So if there's an identity attached to that, and you are gaining anything from that identity, so you could be gaining sympathy or attention or whatever it is, it's just to be aware of that. Because if we can't forgive, then there's often that secondary gain.
Yeah, and the secondary gain is an entrenched sense of self.
Yeah.
It's more a solidified personality, a solidified ego. So forgiveness is to dissolve the ego. That's what forgiveness does. Dissolves your egoic identity. And I know Dr. Wayne Dyer had a lovely acronym for ego, edging God out. So the more solid we become, is the more separate we become from the divine. The more separate we become from life. The more separate we become from the world around us. So forgiveness is to rejoin the flow of life in this moment, to reunite with the divine essence of being in this moment. That is forgiveness. Forgiveness is a doorway which we walk through, which transforms us from something very, very solid, based in form, to something energetic, something formless, with no identity based in past or future. It's a liberation. It's a complete liberation. Forgiveness. Again, how do we know we're forgiven? Because you reach the point of understanding that in truth there is nothing to forgive.
Now there's a divine plan.
And you cannot ask the mind to do that, because the mind will never reach that point. It's something you have to do. Not your mind, not your personality, but you. And how do you do it? Well, you take a deep breath in, and in the moment you breathe out and you drop everything. Drop every story that you have found, that you've held on to. Drop every story that you identified a sense of self-worth, a sense of righteous self. And it might not be, I mean, forgiveness applies, you know, we're talking here, we've been talking a lot about individuals, forgiving maybe an individual. But what about forgiving a whole nation or a whole group of people? It's exactly the same. Drop it. Drop it. Drop the idea of the other. Then you realize there's nothing to forgive. When you're in the vertical plane of life, of presence, there is no other. The vertical plane is a field of connectiveness, a field of oneness. And the field of oneness is the experience of love. And love is the antithesis of non-forgiveness.
Claire Nethercutt has asked, should you still reflect back on your past?
Yes, well, you can do that. You can remember. It doesn't mean when you're living in the present moment that you don't have the ability to remember. You don't lose the faculty of mind. But instead of living in your mind as a sense of identity, you start to use your mind. If you need to remember something, you can pick up your mind and remember something. But the big difference is that you're no longer chained with a dysfunctional emotion of grief, of anger, of resentment to that particular event. You can remember the event, but it has no emotion attached to it, no sense of self, no energy that drags you away from presence anymore. So you're liberated. You have a mind, you can still remember, but you're not drawn down into the lower vibrations of emotional control that emotion used to elicit in your body. Because when you feel those old emotions of anger or resentment or guilt, that damages the physical body as well. And the physical body is such a sacred temple for us to occupy. And I think it's time that we stop damaging the body with those old, heavy energies.
Yeah, I think it's just to be aware of whether you're getting lost in the past, because we can get lost in that story, and then we can spiral down sometimes if there was something difficult in that past. So if the past is pulling us down into a spiral, it's probably better to actually not go down that spiral. But that's a choice. You know, it's like walking down a road and there's a hole in the road and you fall down the hole. And then the next day you walk down the road and you walk around the hole. The next day you walk down a different road. It's a choice that we make. So we can go on a choice, we can go down memory lane and we can get upset if that's what we need to do. And maybe we need to process some emotions around it. But it's where we get stuck in that we get sucked into the past, and then it can be difficult to get out of it. It's not to say that you don't reflect on your past, but it's just that you don't live there.
Yeah.
You live more consciously in this moment. So if somebody does something to upset you, you might get briefly upset by it. But then how fast can you drop it?
Yeah.
That's what I feel. That, you know, I remember, I think it was Susan Sarandon once was interviewed because she was in a long relationship, and they said, what's the secret of your relationship, of the fact that it survived this long? And she leaned back and she said, forgiveness.
It is.
You just forgive, and then you forgive again, and then you forgive again, because we're all going to mess up. And so the faster you can forgive, it doesn't matter, it doesn't mean that you won't get upset, but how fast can you let it go?
Yeah.
How fast can you drop the hot coal? Because the hot coal is only going to burn you and create blocks and boundaries and barriers and pain.
Yeah. And don't forget that, you know, what I said earlier about non-forgiveness gives you a sense of identity. Now's the time to drop those false sense of identity. You're not your past. You're not your tribe. You're not your race or your gender. There's something you have. How can you be something you have? You know, you have a shirt. Well, you're not your shirt. You have a car. You're not your car. These are all vehicles of experience. You are something more pure, more divine than all of it. And now's the time to step out of that false sense of self into alignment with who and what you are. You are a being. You are being in this moment. And I believe now is the time to drop the attachment to time for a sense of self and come into presence. Who are you in this moment? If you didn't have a single thought in your mind, who would you be? You'd be more alive, more peaceful, more present, more joyful, more loving. That is what the world, the new world, is opening up for us. The new earth is based not in rectifying the past, but in stepping into and building the new. And that narrow doorway which we step through is the doorway, and above it it says forgiveness. Forgiveness is the same word as surrender. Give it up, let it drop it. And that doorway is the doorway into peace.
And these major, astrology alignments, which are energetic alignments, basically, that we're all experiencing, they are very big. They are very, very, very unusual. Some of them have not happened for 5,000 years, as far as we can see. And so, and it is actually about the letting go of it's the dissolving of the false self.
Yeah.
That is what we're busy with, if you want to call it that. So if you are here and you're on this journey, that is what we need to do, is start to dissolve the false self. Yeah. And the unforgiveness is a false self.
Yeah. And in forgiving a situation, it doesn't disable you from taking positive action.
No.
If someone robs you and you in that moment you drop the emotion, you drop the attachment, you can still go and report the theft to the police. You can still open up a docket, but you don't have that cord attaching you from a superiority point of view or an inferiority point of view to that situation. There's no emotion attached to it. There's no sense of self invested in that occurrence anymore. It's gone. But you can still take positive action to rectify a situation if that's what needs to be done. So you're not letting the person go if there's something you need to do, but you're making being more important than doing. That's the key to your own transformation this time. So stop seeing yourself as a human doing and start to value yourself as a human being. So we're going to do the closing meditation now, and we're going to choose a card. We've got some affirmation cards here, and I'm going to choose one. I'm going to choose a violet one, a purple one. That's lovely. Yeah. As I said right in the beginning, this time that we're going through now is a realignment of who and what we are. It's an establishment of a new sense of self. And that's what this affirmation points us towards. Yeah. And forgiveness, again, is not something you do, it's something you are. Something you transcend. We're going to... And just by the way, we have a retreat coming up Friday, the 19th, and we're going, it's a powerful retreat over the equinox, and I think there's still one more place available if someone wants to join us. So there's the details are on our website, journeysofawakening.com.
Going to Hogsback.
Hogsback, yeah. Powerful retreat. It's called the Heart of Being.
It's a real
this is
reset.
Where we spend 4 days, four and a half days, dropping into being.
And opening the heart. And letting go. Because that's the energy.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me just take you out with a meditation. So let's just settle in. And just take a beautiful deep breath in, all the way in. And then a slow, long release out. Now just focusing on the breath. Breathe in to the count of 4. And then breathe out to the count of 8. Let all the breath out. Let it all go. And breathing in again, breathe into the count of 4. And a long, slow out breath to the count of 8 as you drop your shoulders. Put them back a little bit, open your heart. And now just concentrate and connect with your breath as it comes in and leaves on its own. At its own pace, at its own rhythm. Just dropping into this very quiet place of presence. It's a sacred place. A sacred place beneath the busyness of the mind, of the world events, of all the information gathering, the talking, the listening. Just giving ourselves a few moments to just drop in to the quiet still point that resides in all of us. Dropping into the middle of your heart. And consciously just expanding and softening your being. Just allowing yourself to be fully present with the here and now. If you notice thoughts drifting in, just notice them and allow them to pass by, like a cloud moving across the sky. I'm just setting a strong intention as we move through this eclipse window to consciously, over the next week, release that which we do not need to carry. To let go of anything that may be blocking our light, holding us back, creating pain and suffering. Just setting that intention. that we will be aware of what needs to be released and forgiven. As we clear the fields, ready to plant new seeds on the 21st. Just as we sit quietly in this still place, I'll repeat our affirmation for the evening and maybe for the week. I am the stillness of divine presence. Be still and know that I am. I am the stillness of divine presence. Be still and know that I am. Just feel that right in the center of you. Know that to be true. Let it really settle into your being. I am the stillness of divine presence. Be still and know that I am. Now start to bring your attention back to your breath. Take a nice deep breath in and a releasing breath out. And ready, you can open your eyes.
It was lovely. It was very beautiful. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'll post that up on the page. I am the stillness of divine presence. Be still and know that I am. Wonderful affirmation. And affirmations are powerful tools at rewiring the brain to take us away from old stories, old patterns of unconsciousness, and lead us into that vertical plane of presence. Thank you. And we look forward to catching up with you, well, some of you on Tuesday night with our inner space. Otherwise,
Thanks,
some of you on the retreat, and otherwise in 2 weeks' time. Have a blessed week
night, everyone.
ahead of you.